and welcome back to the Anatomy of Synergy. The purpose of this series is to demonstrate how to create and assemble the building blocks that comprise a Synergy application. In our last video, we learned about the compile units of a Synergy program. In this video, we're going to start exploring Synergy data types. There are a number of ways to manage data in Synergy code. For now, we'll focus on the alpha data type. Let's get started. The default way to store human-readable text in Synergy is with the alpha data type. Alpha data can consist of anything in the ASCII character set, and each alpha variable has a predefined length. Like most data in Synergy programs, alpha data is typically defined in the data division of a routine. When data is defined in the data division, it takes the form of one or more records, each containing one or more fields. A record starts with the record keyword and ends with the end record keyword. Although the end record keyword is optional, so you may not see it in older code. For our purposes, we'll leave it in. A field is the most basic data unit inside a record. A typical field consists of a name, a data type, and, optionally, an initial value. A comma separates each element. We'll name our new field so we can identify or directly access it later. An alpha field in a record is represented by the letter A and needs to have a size specified. The size of a field indicates how many bytes the field uses. Since an ASCII character uses a single byte, the size of an alpha field is also the maximum number of characters it can contain. We could give this field an initial value, but instead, let's assign it a value in the procedure division. As you can see, Visual Studio is aware of the new field, and it suggests it in IntelliSense. Now, we can assign it a value. Let's see this in action in the debugger. First, we'll set a breakpoint. Then, we'll build the project and start debugging. We can see here that the message field is currently the only thing in the data division because we gave it a size of 25 and no initial value. Its current value is 25 spaces. Let's change this by stepping forward in the code. The value now shows the new data we provided. Because the words don't take up all 25 characters, there are still several empty spaces at the end. Let's add another record. The first record didn't have a name, but let's give a name to this one. Next, we'll define an alpha field in the new record. We'll go ahead and give this new field an initial value. Now, let's use the new field in the procedure division. We can use the plus sign to concatenate multiple strings of text. Alpha fields, string literals, and string objects can all be combined this way. If we start debugging, we see our new named record. You can also see that this record has a single field which has an initial value. Let's try something different for our next field. If you supply an initial value to an alpha field, you can use an asterisk after the data type instead of a size, and the compiler will use the size of the initial value to determine the size of the field. Let's check this out in the debugger. Now, the person record has two fields. Notice that the second field has a size of 7, just long enough to contain the initial value. Compare this to the first field, where we set the size explicitly, which means that there are extra spaces after the initial value. You might notice that the debugger doesn't just name the fields first name and last name, but person.firstname and person.last name. The debugger uses explicit paths when it refers to fields in a named record. We could do the same thing in our code by changing this to person.firstname. Something else you might notice in the debugger is that the person record looks like it's an alpha field. It has an alpha data type and a size of 15. And it has a sequence of characters as its value. That's because a record is just a block of sequential bytes. The fields inside a record will divide those bytes, and the data type of those fields will tell the program how it should treat the data. If you give a record a name, you can use that name to refer to the entire block of bytes and treat them as alpha data. Note that if you access a named record by its name, the whole thing will be treated as an alpha data type, even if some of the fields inside the record have different data types. This could lead to invalid data, so be careful. This concludes our introduction to alpha data. We've learned the basics of the alpha data type and how the data division works with records and fields. In our next video, we'll explore the decimal data type. Thanks for watching, and remember, you can subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on new Synergy videos.